Hello ladies and gentlemen, hope you're having a great day and welcome to the Tundra Dude 34 YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all your Toyota Tundra news and information. I got an interesting one for you today. Many times people ask me, what is my favorite Tundra or Tundras that I've owned? I've owned 9 Tundras. I have pictures, videos of almost every single one, but there's one I always talk to you guys about and I've never been able to find any pictures of it. Well, I'm going through all of my mom's photos. Okay, she passed away in 2020. I haven't got around to look at all of her pictures. She was big into taking pictures our entire life. Me, my brother, my sister. So I'm starting to go through the boxes of pictures. And the first box I went through, I was able to already find some cool ones. For instance, I put this on Instagram earlier today. Here's a picture of me on my Harley Nightster 1200. I've never been able to find any pictures of that motorcycle. And there it is, was able to find that. When I found that picture, you will see in a little bit of that picture is a front end of a Toyota Tundra. That is my 2009 Toyota Tundra that I've never been able to find any pictures. As I continue to go through the box, I found some pictures of this truck to show you. So I want to show you the truck and then tell you what I did to it. This one was a lot of fun. Took this truck off-roading quite a bit, got a little bit of damage off-road with it as well, but did some upgrades to it along the way. The 2009 that I bought, this was my second Tundra that I've owned. The first one was an '07 4.7 SR5 double cab. It was extremely base model. So in 2009, I was able to get into exactly what I wanted. This one was a 5.7 liter SR5 double cab with the TRD off-road package. I wanted this thing so bad. I just thought that was the coolest setup on Tundra at the time. It did have the beige interior, which proved to not be the greatest long-term as far as keeping it clean, but it was fine. And the double cab in this generation, pretty much from '07 to 21, could fit 3 grown adults in the back seat, no problem. When I tell you guys, if you have been around the channel a while, about my long trips to Richmond, Virginia to see NASCAR, we used to put 3 grown adults in the back, 6 hours down, 6 hours back, no problem. This was the truck that took us there. So I might be able to find even better pictures as I continue to go through these boxes. There's thousands of pictures to go through, but box one, I wanted to show you guys this truck. So here it is, and this is already done up with all the stuff that I put on it. This was about, I would say, a year after I owned it. It started its life as a regular SR5 TRD, of course. I believe the sticker on this was like $41,000, and I got it in February 2009. I made a list of some of the things that I did to this truck just to give you an idea of some of the additions. So let's go through those real quick. First off, it had a rough country 3-inch spacer lift, and knowing what I know now, I probably would have done something a little bit better. I always suggest people go for, when they buy a lift for their Tundra, to check into one that comes with a lot more components and makes the ride a lot better. Spacer lift, it was like $300. I was a lot younger at the time, didn't have all the money in the world, but it evened out the look of the truck as far as leveling it, but not the most comfortable of rides. And then we added the Toyo Open Country 33 by 12.50 18 tires. These were mud terrains. So these were the Open Country MTs. Awesome tire. Yes, they were a little bit loud. Probably killed my fuel mileage a lot, but you know what? The look was there and that's what I was going for. And this truck spent a lot of time off-road. I also got the XD Rockstar wheels, which at the time were pretty popular. And I'm sure they're still around to this day. I haven't looked into it, but no one had them around me. And I remember when I would take this truck in for oil changes and tire rotations, the techs would get mad because the center cap, you had to use an Allen wrench to get that center cap off. And there was quite a few of them, so it slowed everything down and it was a pain. They used to complain about that quite a bit, but I thought this was a cool looking wheel at the time period. There is a bull bar on the front of this truck, and this was back when eBay Motors was very popular. I don't know if this is Weston. I don't know if it's a no-name company, but this bull bar actually started its life on my '07 4.7 SR5, and I brought it over to put onto this truck. So that's there. I don't remember the cost or anything like that. It was a simple installation. It went on right where the tow hooks were. No big deal. But I thought at the time it gave the look, that I was looking for. Now, you won't see this in the pictures, but I had to put a new skid plate on this truck. Another eBay Motors purchase. Don't remember the brand. because when I was off-roading, I ended up bottoming out so hard by going into a puddle that I couldn't see the bottom of that it destroyed my skid plate. So the skid plate did its job very well, but I had to replace that one. The next thing this truck had was a Volant intake. They were very popular at the time for this generation of Toyota Tundra. As always, intakes are a super simple install and gave a little bit more noise in the engine bay to go along with the exhaust that I put on this truck. So I got this exhaust custom made at like a Meineke or something along those lines. It was a true dual exhaust that came out the rear of the truck. It was 3-inch piping with 2 Flowmaster 40 single shot mufflers. It was a very loud truck. The joke between my wife and I is when we were dating, she knew I was close to the house because she could hear me like 6 blocks away coming down the road because it was so loud. Now with that exhaust, I believe, I don't know why I remember this, but it was like $450 to have the exhaust done before the mufflers. But they did that, I think it was at a Meineke. Some of the memories are, totally lost. I'm trying to remember because it was back in 2009. But I'm pretty sure it was at the Meineke, and it was great exhaust. Down the road, one thing off-roading did with this truck was destroy a lot of the components. I kept having to re-weld the hangers onto the exhaust. They kept breaking off. The exhaust took a beating off-road. And, I didn't spend the extra money to have the best exhaust I possibly could. This was, on a budget, but I had a lot of problems as we went down the road a little bit where the hangers kept breaking off and I had to weld them back on to hold the exhaust up. It happened fairly often once it was done. If I kept that truck any longer, I had it for about 3.5, 4 years, I would have had to get a new exhaust because at that point, it was just getting to the point where it was breaking fairly often. And then you would start to hear the exhaust, the holes in the exhaust from the hanger breaking off. It literally broke it apart. So you could hear air coming out of it. So it sounded like something was completely wrong. But through the ownership of the vehicle, I was able to keep the exhaust intact to the point where it was drivable and not super annoying. At the end of the day, that exhaust sounded amazing. If you're the type of person that really wants to hear your 5.7 liter V8, that setup, along with the Volant, gave a really nice sound to that truck. I didn't really do anything to the inside of the truck as far as upgrades. I had the shifter that they used to call the TRD shifter, but it didn't say TRD or anything, but that was the only thing I did to the inside of the truck. I had a lot of corrosion issues in the engine bay with this truck because of off-roading. So there was some wiring that needed to be dealt with a few times. The battery connectors, there was just a lot of corrosion. Off-roading messed up the skid plate really bad. I blew out my wheel well from that same bottom out. That was a crazy situation when that happened. And I had that exhaust issue as well. There used to be a thing called Tundra Network. If you've been around in the Tundra world for a long time, it was part of the website Tundra Headquarters. So it kind of looked like a Facebook setup for each Tundra owner to go and show their stuff, whatever they have and what they're doing with their truck. It was amazing. And when Tundra Headquarters went away, that went away as well. But I had a lot of good videos on there of off-roading with that truck back in the day. So again, I don't have a lot of pictures of the truck. It was awesome. It was a great truck. I think if I remember correctly, because I know you guys always ask about pricing with stuff, at the time, I got the spacer lift, the wheels and tires done together. So the wheels, tires, spacer lift, and the labor and the alignment cost $3,300 for that at the time period. The exhaust was around $450. We'll say $500. The intake was a little over $300. The shifter was $50. And I've never been able to show you this truck, and I've always wanted to. We've talked about this truck for years and years and years. I have one picture of my 07 that I've showed quite a few times on the channel. From 14, my next Tundra after this 09 and up, I have tons of pictures, tons of videos you've seen on the channel. As I go through the pictures, I'm going to keep looking to see if there are any more in there of my 2009 Tundra or maybe my 2002 Tacoma, the first Toyota I ever owned. I still don't have any pictures of those, but in my mother's thousands of pictures, I'm gonna hope there's at least one of those. Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok at TundraDude34, TundraDude34@gmail.com. Thanks for taking this trip down memory lane, and I hope you like the 2009 Toyota Tundra I owned, and I hoped it lived up to the hype. Have a great day.